All right. So looking at PFT 110's final chapter, weight loss programming applications. So it's like, at this point, I think everybody in here, I'm confident to say, is an expert on the ways of, understanding how weight is lost or, managed at least, weight is lost, weight is gained, whatever. It's going to be a combination of like diet and exercise. We know what type of exercise sort of increases caloric expenditure. So if your goal is to gain weight, those things are the things you avoid. If your goal is to lose weight, those are really great things to kind of throw into your workout. We know that we need to create a calorie surplus or a calorie deficit. We talked about how to use your BMR and how to do that to sort of calculate out those numbers. We also talked about how there's a million different formulas out there. You could also do it without formulas. For the record, like while we're getting this out there, you don't necessarily always have to use those formulas. You could just take a look at your client's current diet, have them go through it. And then like, if their weight is remaining stable, be like, great, let's make just a couple adjustments here. And rather than like analyzing calories like crazy, making a few just like adjustments to be like, all right, that Wonder Bread, we're going to turn that into like whole wheat bread. We're going to take that, white processed rice, minute rice, and we're going to turn it into whole grain rice, right? Whole wheat, and then it's like, we're also going to, up your calorie intake by throwing a protein shake in. And all of a sudden the calories are up above. And it's like, now we're going to, reduce our portions in like these starchy grains, and that will, lower the calories substantially. And then we'll keep the veggies, full throughout the whole diet. So you can take a very holistic approach to it, guys. It doesn't always have to be, very number based. I was talking about this last night with my roommates, and I had like an epiphany where I was like, I have been talking about numbers a lot lately. It doesn't always have to be number based, it could absolutely be like numbers are kind of what explains the why behind what's going on. So I do like to use them as an example, but like they're definitely not the only approach. There's plenty of times where I've had a client who's just like not a numbers person. They're just like, numbers freak me out. I get really up in my head, and then like, I start making really destructive decisions. And I'm like, okay, great, super honest, love it. Let's not do that. And so we just make adjustments. We just adjust how we're sort of approaching it. So rather than running doing a calculation. So anyway, I wanted to say that also because it hit me last night that I was doing a lot of just only number conversations. But looking at the whole programming application, let's take a look. Today, we want to get through some very important things, how to sequence the requirements for a first client session. That includes doing your fitness assessment, sitting down, talking about their goals, any expectations they have, and recommendations. We'll talk about like what that means when I say first session sort of assessment, kind of thing. We'll also sequence our second session where we're going to do a little bit of review and, maybe put things together. And then we'll talk about like how to implement long-term plans to help our clients. So we will talk about like, big macro cycles and things like that really briefly. And then eventually we want to be able to, pivot the conversation into like, all right, like this is how, well, these are the things that are going to hit you on the road. Like this, you're going to get frustrated at some point because you're going to hit a plateau. And they're like, no, I don't want to hit a plateau. And it's like, it's going to happen. Like we just got to make sure it doesn't happen for too long. And we got to make sure like we, make adjustments and we course correct once it happens, because that's what it is. It's just like balancing, that's how this is how I usually describe it to my clients. I'm like, it's just like balancing, which I'm going to make you do in your sessions where like you start tipping this way. So then you contract your muscles, a lot of times you'll either overcorrect or, you might not come up enough. And then, you kind of get a little bit closer, but you're still not quite level. So you contract a little bit harder, like that's overcoming a plateau. We're dialing things in, So we're going to kind of outline the flow of our first three sessions. Our job is obviously to make sure that like we are the Sherpa to our clients' weight loss goal. We're getting them to where they're at through our like knowledge and understanding of how to practically apply all of these physiologic lessons that we've been talking about for the last 6 weeks. Yeah, Thomas, you're at the end of your first mod. Some of you guys at the end of your second mod. Like everybody in here is, we've kind of seen like this whole physiology journey. We started very much in like the cells with like that super technical, 12-day class, and then moved into the more nutrition side of things. And hopefully this PFT 110 class has felt like a lot of tips and tricks. Hopefully it's felt like a lot of like little tiny lessons that you can like grab onto and like share with your clients and be like, my teacher once said this kind of thing, and he said this worked for his clients, and then also it's like, oh, anecdotal evidence, and like that gives people confidence. People love a good anecdote. Clients love a good anecdote. Looking at this, first impressions obviously going to be huge with anybody, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it's a weight loss client, doesn't matter if it's like an athlete, your first impression is big. So this is going to start you off on the right foot. You're either going to do that, before your first session, you're either going to call or text or email your client to make sure that like you are confident about like when they're going to show up. So, let's use two different examples. Let's say you're working in like a commercial gym and you sell someone on the idea of, doing their free fitness assessment, right? You're hanging out at the front desk and somebody walks through the door and they're a new member and they just signed up, and they go work with the sales team and they get their membership and they come back to the front desk. And then you're going to say, hey, like along with your new membership, you have a free 1-hour assessment with a trainer. And I was like, I'd love to get that booked, right? So then you book it, you put it on the books. Let's say, if it was happening this week, we'll say it's for Friday, right? Well, at least on Thursday, but probably before, within 24 to 48 hours, you're going to email your client, you're going to text them, you're going to say like, hey, super excited to see you. Here's the things I want you to wear. Here's the things that we're going to expect, during our assessment, and this is a little bit of what I like to call managing expectations. Okay. Managing expectations is huge. It's something that you can do in any area of your life. I'm big on it as often as I can anywhere. But it is basically prepping someone to know what's coming down the road. You're kind of painting a picture of like, what your goals and things are as we sort of move forward. So it's like, we are going to meet in this spot in the gym. This is what I want you to wear because I'm going to be taking you through these particular movements. What those movements are going to tell me is a little bit about like, how you move. And I'm going to use that to write you an effective program. And then we're going to kind of go through some of those exercises and go through a little bit of that program together. So you're going to get a little bit of a workout. It won't be quite as hard as a session workout or anything, but that's not really the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to, let me figure out how you operate and how I can best make adjustments for that. And if you explain that, I mean, what do you guys think of what I just said? Like, does that sound like something somebody would want to purchase? What do you guys think? I give a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for, if I was a client, I'd still be waiting for, more.
Yeah.
I'm picky. It's a lot of money,
Oh, sure.
Guaranteed that I'm going to get what I need.
Right. But this is enough to keep, I mean, hopefully that is enough to kind of convince you to go through the session, right? Because that's where we're really going to demonstrate our value, right? Like that's a big deal. We do want to like demonstrate like, hey, like I am this great tool at your disposal. You don't get to do that during your first welcoming call. Your first welcoming call, you're just getting them to the session that you got them, interested in, right? And it's free. Then we can kind of pivot that into the more advanced stuff. But like, and then I will often also say at the end of, my introduction, be like, and we are going to end, today's, when we're going to end today's session, and I'm going to give you a little sales pitch. I'll often like just be really blunt about that right in the beginning. And it's kind of nice because like, there is this like sort of weird stigma sometimes, I think, in the heads of people, where it's like, all right, like I know a sales pitch is coming and stuff. And like sometimes like that has kind of a negative stigma around it. So I love to be like, and at the end, I'm gonna try and sell you on personal training. I love, saying something just like right out in the beginning, because then like it's not, there's this awkward moment's not coming. It's like we're wrapping up the session, we go sit down at the desk, they know exactly what to expect. So managing expectations, letting your client know what to expect is a super, super helpful tool. So make sure you tell your client the time, confirm the time and the date for the appointment, tell your client what to wear, and tell them exactly where to meet you in the gym. That's another really big one. And I recommend just honestly, guys, pick the same spot every time. Like just get a familiar spot that you can kind of take ownership over. That's a big deal, and that way, like you're never gonna, be hunting around for someone. You're gonna know exactly when they're gonna be there, and everything's ready to go. So when it comes to doing your fitness assessments, right, we know we've got the difference between our objective and subjective information. We're going to start with that subjective information. First things first, you're always going to have your client do their PAR-Q and their general medical and history questionnaire, sign any waivers and things like that. But before you start any of the objective stuff, make sure you're doing this in a place that's like comfortable and professional for your client. And when I say comfortable, I mean like, it should be easy for them to obviously like, do paperwork and stuff. Like if you're having them sign on your back or something in a pen and their pen's poking through the paper, that's not a great way, it's going to lead to frustrations. Make sure that they're, comfy that way, but also you are about to do, some pinching and prodding and some poking, like you're going to use circumference measuring, do body fat testing. Some people can be very self-conscious about that. So one of the important things is to also make sure that you're using at least a private or maybe a semi-private location where you can make your client much more comfortable. This is probably, this is important for pretty much every type of client, but it becomes sort of a very important consideration for any client who may be like overweight or obese, who's, a little self-conscious about like working on their weight. I don't know if you guys have ever made this realization, and it breaks my heart every time I hear someone say this, but I've heard it in my career. I mean, since day one, and then just consistently throughout. A lot of people are self-conscious about going to a gym to work on their weight or to work on themselves. And it's like, it's like, I mean, that's literally what the gym is for, is, it's a place for you to work on yourself, and that's what everybody's here to do. But some people are so afraid to do that in public because they just feel like they're going to be, severely judged. That, breaks my heart, but like that is a reality. And so we want to make sure those people are really comfortable. You can help a lot more people if you can, marry those two concepts together. So client comfort is paramount. Also, you need to make sure that your equipment is in working order. This is something that you should have done before your session starts. So like you're going to do, circumference measurements, body fat testing, things like that. Make sure your body fat analyzer has batteries in it. And that sounds silly, but like it sucks when that stuff breaks down. It just diminishes like the confidence that the client has in you. Make sure that like your circumference measurements are a version that is very easy to be very accurate with. I will say the version of the tape measures that we give you at Sochi, I'm not a huge fan of. I've been trying to get them to get better ones for a long time. Measuring tape for the body. A lot of times we kind of give out these, what is it, like ours kind of look like, they kind of look like this, these little circle ones here. It's okay. I mean, it's not terrible, but if you can get one that is a little bit more like, I really like these. And what happens is like you put it around your client's body and then you thread this little plastic bit in here and you squeeze this button and that button cinches up the tape measure. And this is like, I mean, they're cheap. They're $8. So I don't know why we don't get those versions. Drive me crazy. But when you use this, what that means, that like every time you measure your client in the future, you are always giving them the same amount of tension. There's not really going to be like a time where you pull harder than another, and it's like all of a sudden your client gained a couple inches. So make sure your equipment's in working order. If it does have that button, make sure that button works and things like that. Um, Always like beforehand, right? And then, one other thing that's also really important when it comes to body fat testing, just to remind you guys, we mentioned this on the day when we were talking about assessments, but do not use skin fold calipers with obese clientele. Just because, again, like people can sometimes be self-conscious, and that's that's very much like a pinching and like situation, which is sometimes a little awkward. Also, it tends to get less accurate the more, like the closer to full-blown obesity someone is. That does absolutely make it a little bit less accurate. So instead, bioelectric impedance is probably the preferred method when it comes to making adjustments. Now, let's say you're getting out of your circumference measurements, you're out of the body fat testing, you've done the heart rate stuff and maybe calculated out some carving and stuff. And now we're going to take our client through, our objective assessments, right? NASM's favorite, my favorite, hopefully your favorite is going to be that overhead squat assessment, right? So the overhead squat assessment is such a great way to take a look at your client's posture, see how they're moving, what's going on, what muscles are tight, what muscles are weak, and how to adjust and program for that. If I see my client's feet turn out, I'm like, all right, we got to stretch out this part of your calves. We need to strengthen this part of your glutes. We need to stretch out this part of your adductors. We need to strengthen this other part of your glutes. A lot of glute work out there. And so that can be really good. Now, if your client has a really hard time squatting, which that will also be something that happens sometimes, you can always modify it to like a sit and stand assessment. You can have them sit into a chair and then stand back up. And that can still give you a very clear viewpoint. If you notice, while they're sitting into that chair, as they're coming up, if they do a really intense forward lean, right? Or if they, that's showing that they have a hard time balancing. So they use a forward lean to kind of counterbalance. Or if their knees buckle in as they're squat, as they're sitting down into that squat, you'll see it. You will see these same exact things. And then you can also go through, that's just the overhead squat. That's a special consideration there. Probably wouldn't do the push-up assessment. Probably wouldn't do a sit-up assessment. But then we're also going to take our clients, and they don't mention it here in this chapter, which kind of drives me a little crazy. But you definitely also want to do a cardiovascular assessment. That's always hugely important for the objective information. Take your client through probably the Rockport walk test, just because that is a much gentler version. It takes a little bit longer, which is a bummer. I think hold on one second, actually. I just remember, I think they, I think they might do it in the third session, actually. This is kind of an interesting approach. I don't do it that way, which is why I am having a hard time remembering how they have this organized. I will go straight into the cardio right there. But because the Rockport walk test does take up a substantial portion of your time, and you need to have a lot of explanation time because it's a first session, you can sometimes push the cardio talk to later down the road. But I like to get it out of the way. I think it's super important to do on day one. So, if you're going to go through cardiovascular assessments, special consideration, probably don't do the YMCA step test. It's probably just not our best version. And then we have the pushing and the pulling assessment. So now we've learned about, their anterior upper body, their posterior upper body, and their, lower body in general, when it comes to the areas that we've assessed for posture. And so we're starting to get a really clear picture of what our client looks like. And it's hey, this is what we look like. These are the adjustments we are going to make in order to get you where you want to be. You are currently at this status, and this is where you said you want to be. And so now, this is what's going to help you get there. This is what's going to help you get there. And we're kind of plugging it in, right? So one of the other things you're also going to do is you're also going to have, a lot of desk time sometimes with certain people. It depends on how much of the nutrition coaching aspect you are going to have in this. Which if it's a weight loss client, we know that abs are made in the kitchen, right? So you're probably going to do like a food intake evaluation. Most commonly, you're going to probably do a 24-hour dietary recall. But if your client happens to already have been logging their food, if they use like MyFitnessPal or whatever, you can check that. That's great. Or you can do a food frequency questionnaire, which usually like food frequency questionnaire, I like to kind of just work those into like the general history questionnaire. But we're going to have like, we're just trying to get a pretty clear view of what it is our client is eating. And then we're going to sit down and talk about any dietary tips. I can be like, all right, so here's what I can see so far. And then here are some adjustments you can make in the short term that are going to have really positive impacts. You said that, you're worried about your cholesterol. Well, looking at your diet, there's not a lot of fiber in this diet, that they have a food log. Or, even a 24-hour dietary recall. It's like, hey, yesterday, it doesn't sound like you had a lot of fiber in your diet. That fiber can really help with, creating these awesome little fatty acid chains that are, raise your HDL cholesterol, have really super positive benefits. Tips and tricks like that, right? And that's something that like, it's like, and as what I like to do, again, this is your first session and you are eventually going to have to pivot this into a sales conversation, right? One of the other things that I like to do is, say, hey, also, I'm going to remind you of these things as we continue working together. That sentence is one that I use all the time. Like, we are going to continue working together. Like, as we continue, I like to frame it and I like to prime it and I like to set it up as if like this person is guaranteed, to sign up for sessions with me. And so as we're sort of going through things, it's like, and we're going to do this and this and this and this. And then in 6 months, we're going to do this. And, the high five, by that point, we'll be 10,000 high fives in, and like, just birds fly, fish swim, and we're going to work together, it's one of my favorite approaches. And then we need to clarify like what our clients' fitness goals are, right? Obviously, like when we're sitting there and we're talking about like what our clients' goals are, it's like, what is it that you want to achieve? Make sure that you are helping your clients verbalize their goals. Make sure you're helping them like get it out and, you're getting clarity here. This is one of the reasons why, remember, we like SMART goals, right? So often you'll have a client come in and be like, what are you here for? And it's like, I want to lose weight. And it's like, all right, do you want to lose, like, why do you want to lose weight? Like, give me a little bit more information here. And they're like, well, like, I just want to make sure that like, I'm staying healthy and like, I'm getting my blood pressure in order, my blood sugar levels. Like, I'm not diabetic or anything, but like the last time I saw my doctor, he said like, hey, your blood sugar's kind of creeping, passively a little bit high. And he's like, that could have been just like a bad day, but like he said the same thing last time as well. So it's like, it's starting to become like a pattern and my doctor's a little worried about it. So he's like, hey, if you exercise more, it's going to help you with this. And then we're gonna like, that's great. It's like, okay, so yeah, you want to lose weight, but it sounds to me like what's really important is like your health, right? And it's like, yeah, I want to be around for my grandkids. And it's like, all right, I love that, right? What a freaking great answer. So instead we kind of pivot their goals a little bit, right? We can help them sort of develop this into like a SMART system. So it's like, all right, well, why don't we say something like, I want to get my blood sugar levels within very normal, healthy ranges by, I don't know, August. Oh, I guess it's August 3rd. It's August now. Let's say September 30th. Right. So help your client verbalize their goals. This is not only going to help you clarify and get a better understanding of where their head's at, it honestly helps them get a better understanding of where their head's at. It also allows you to help them with any unrealistic goals, which a lot of people are going to bring to their first session. Holy crap, we're going to see some unrealistic goals. I want to lose 10 pounds by tomorrow. It's like, all right, well, you're going to need to chop your arm off. That's about it. So making sure that our clients, are taking a reasonable approach to things. Generally, that's going to be somewhere between 1/2 to about 2 pounds per week of weight loss is acceptable. You guys will remember we love that 0.7% number. That's one of my favorite ways, right? Or you could do it by calories, 31 calories for, you know, their fat mass. But the version I like is like, let's say you have a 250-pound client, right? Then we would multiply that by 0.007. That's 0.7%. So we would see a maximum weight loss for somebody like this of about 1.75 pounds per week. That's a realistic expectation that isn't too difficult. So, you know, 1.75, again, we're going back to math, but 1.75 pounds times 3,500 calories, that's 6,000 calories a week, 7 days a week. That's about an 875 calorie deficit. That sounds like a lot, and it is, like, objectively, make no mistake, that is a big number. But remember, like, this person has a high BMR. If they're 250 pounds, they've got a lot of calories that they're passively, you know, burning because there's a lot of tissue there. And so, you know, here's my 5'10" person, 250 pounds. Hit calculate here. It's like we're burning about 2,125 per day naturally. So if they start exercising 1 to 3 times a week, they're going to burn 2,900 calories a day. They're consuming a 2,100 calorie diet. There we go, right? That's a great way. You know, that's an easy way to do things. I was just working on, I have a client, we were sitting down and doing like meal plans and stuff. And we were sort of organizing a little bit of like diet stuff just recently. And they're like, you know what? I know I'm going to be really busy for the next couple of weeks, so I'm just going to go to Trader Joe's and get like a bunch of frozen TV dinners. And I was like, sodium intake, but okay, you know, they're convenient. All right, I get it. To be fair, so Trader Joe's does a better job than a lot of frozen foods out there. They really do much healthier versions of TV dinners, but they are still TV dinners, and they're very low calorie. You know, God, Trader Joe's has this freaking. I've had this before actually because a client they talked about it for so long. I was like, all right, I'm gonna freaking try one. What is it? Butter chicken. I don't know if you guys like Indian food, but this butter chicken with basmati rice is actually really good. They do a great job. Their tikka masala is actually really good too, but it's 270 calories. It was like I remember it being under 300 calories. That's a fairly, I mean, look, by the way, not a lot of color here. I'm not a huge fan of the fact this is missing any manner of vegetables. I mean, there's probably some in the curry, but like not a great source of veggies. So I would recommend, if my client is like having this, to have like a, you know, salad on the side. Is probably going to be an important part of this as well. That's going to add some volume while also like making sure we're getting those nutrients. But like, hey, like super great way to limit your calories and stuff. And we were just sitting down, like this client is like, normally I cook, normally I do meal prep. He's like, I just know like the next 2 weeks are gonna be crazy. So I'm going Trader Joe's. All right. So you can see 2,100 calories, pretty realistic. You know, that lunch was 270 calories. You had like a 250 calorie salad to that. You know, now you're sitting right around 500 calories. That's a quarter of the food you're allowed in a day, and that's a huge lunch. So the 1/2 to 2 pounds thing, it does kind of sometimes like the numbers sound really big, but you can see how manageable they are. So help your clients create SMART goals, like turn their goals into SMART goals, and then focus on process goals rather than just outcome goals. A lot of people are going to come to you with outcome goals. I like outcome goals. They're fine. You know, I'm not anti-outcome goals. But a lot of people will say, I want to lose 20 pounds. That's an outcome, right? And then we will often want to get them to also develop some process goals so they can get excited and take ownership of the fact that they're making healthy lifestyle changes. So we could say something like, all right, well, we also, let's say you want to, you know, hit the gym a minimum of 3 times per week consistently for 6 weeks, and let's see what happens. You know, even if it means that like you're coming in on like an off schedule. Yeah, actually, here's another real life example. I just had my client yesterday. We were talking about this. she has really bad arthritis. She's some super severe arthritis, and she gets inflamed super easily. Her joints swell up. It's really bad and painful. So generally I put her on an arthritis program, very similar to how we talk about our special populations classes, the adjustments you need to make, low volume, medium intensity, and generally you kind of spread your volume out. So rather than having like one body part get completely wrecked in a day, you kind of set it up to where like you do a little bit of this body part and then you do a little bit of this, you do a little bit of the whole body. And that means that you're not hitting too much volume for one area, causing inflammation. And it just wasn't necessarily the greatest approach for her. And so we did go to like kind of a chest, back, legs program. And that has actually worked pretty well because now like she's able to kind of isolate different body parts. But one of the things I told her, I was like, hey, if we go on this routine, we need to set up like a really intense like commitment to not missing a workout. This is one of the reasons why I don't like chest, back, leg routines in general. I think they're okay, but I'm not a huge fan of them because it's very easy for someone to have a birthday party and have to miss leg day. And then, it's like next week, it's like, oh, well, now I also have to, the babysitter canceled and I got to go pick my kid up from school. And then you skip leg day again, and that tends to happen, right? And then all of a sudden we start developing like imbalances. Don't love that, and so like process goal with her, I was like, all right, well, we're going to go on this routine and we're going to do it for 6 weeks. And I don't want you to fall off the wagon. Like our goal for this next 6 weeks is to not miss a session. And so we're checking in weekly to make sure that like that is happening. And it's great. She's done a really good job. She's kind of course corrected. She missed her session, but then like she made up for it the next day. It's kind of cool. She's never done that before. Usually when she misses, it's gone, it's like, well, there's more days in the week, but it just never happens. This time it did. And it's like, awesome. That's why we like process goals. So I love outcome goals, I'm not anti-outcome goals, but we love process goals. So now you need to whip up a workout, right? And you guys have seen sort of how quickly we've made you do this in the past, where it's like we sit down and kind of do this. Even that is not quick enough a lot of times. Sometimes you're going to need to kind of whip something up really quickly. Usually these are not meant to be like long-term, workouts or anything, but if I were to say, let's see, who's been here the longest? I'm going to pick on Bay. Bay, I apologize, but I'm going to pick on you. If your client excessively leaned forward, they got the butt sticking out thing, what are we going to start with in their warm-up? In the warm-up section, what's one thing that we're going to address to help with this excessive forward lean?
We have to work on the back, not the shin, the calves.
There it is. Nailed it, right? Sorry, scared the dogs. Nailed it. Yeah, so I know right away, I'm going to sit down and be like, all right, let's write you a workout. I pull out a sheet, SMR, calves, static, wall calf stretch. Boom. 2 things picked out instantly based on my client's posture. So we're going to organize using the OPT template. It's going to break things down into the warm-up section, the movement prep section, the SAQ section, resistance training, and cool down. We're not necessarily going to use all of it, but we can use all of it, right? When we're looking at our special considerations, ways that we are going to need to modify our little OPT model here, when it comes to your warm-up in your initial sessions, your clients actually will probably have a hard time stabilizing their heart rate. Their body is not quite used to exercise, and it's like, oh my gosh, like we're using a lot of stuff. We haven't used this much stuff in a while, like your body, we haven't recruited this much muscle in a long time. So sometimes like their heart rate will spike like crazy in the beginning. That's okay. That's actually pretty normal. So generally, start them with like plenty of flexibility training before you move into that cardio. That way, like, their muscles are really warm. They're not going to tear anything. And we can help them learn how to like manage their heart rate a little bit, right? Anybody in here feel like they like cannot run a mile, you know? Now, Lorianne, you're kind of a special case, but yeah, I imagine that's probably quite difficult for like the joints and stuff and like coordination wise. But here's the thing. If I were to put you on like a treadmill and have you like walk with consistently and safely, sometimes people will go, yeah, no, I can't run a mile uninterrupted. What'll happen is I get tired, I get out of breath, right? What that means, it's like, oh, well, you're running too hard. Your version of a mile is something different. So we can help our clients like stabilize it. So many people, I see it all the time where they're just like, oh, I could never run a mile. And it's like, you're running that mile too hard. I had this conversation with one of my coworkers, like, who is a fellow trainer. He's like, no, I'm just not a long-term cardio person. I'm like, you know better. like surely you've worked with clients and stuff. It's like, if you're working at too high of an intensity, I mean, I can't maintain 95% of my heart rate for, as long as I need it to be a full mile. 95% is something that I can do for a few seconds, like if you're spiking your heart rate very early, of course you're not going to make it through, so we can help our clients with that. That is one thing that we can kind of address there. Now, yeah, question.
Can I trouble you for the this SMART, the what it stands for, please?
Oh, SMART. Yeah. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, or time bound, whatever you want, give it a timeline. Those are the 5. So your goals are always specific to, like you have a much clearer idea. We'll break this down really intensely next month when we're looking at, we have a whole day on goal setting techniques. And so like, you can break this down, ask yourself the what, the why, and the where. Those are actually going to help you kind of make things more specifically. And if you do this one really well, the rest of your SMART goal will fall into place. So if someone says they want to lose weight, and then you talk to them and say like, why? And then they clarify and it's like, you want to lose fat, right? And it's like, okay, great. If they said they want to lose weight because they're like, well, I'm a boxer and I need to be in a specific weight class. Oh, okay, yeah, you need to lose weight. Hopefully it's fat, but if we lose a little bit of muscle, whatever, like we just got to get you that number so you're allowed to compete. So, we got to clarify, not everybody's a boxer. Most people are not. And then, measurable goals, make sure it's always, a goal that can be easily measured. Doesn't have to necessarily be like a number of pounds lost. It can always be, on the process side of things, more about like, I want you to hit a minimum of this many sessions by August 30th. Like if I had a client right now and I wanted them to work out 3 days per week, let's see, we got for the month of August, I want it, let's say 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 12, plus a little bit of this week. So we'll say 13. It's like, I want you to get 13 sessions in before, August 31st. Right. So that's not 13. It doesn't have to be 13 sessions with me. I just want them to be in the gym 13 times before this month is over. So that's a measurable goal. We put a number on it. Where am I at? Attainable goals. Sometimes you'll hear attainable goals listed as actionable goals, which is, I actually kind of like that term a little bit better. But basically an attainable goal is a goal in which you know what you need to do to attain it. This is why I like the term actionable a little bit better. You know which actions you have to take to achieve it. You're asking yourself that. If we already set up something measurable, like I need to hit 13 sessions before I do. It's like, is that actionable? Yeah, of course it is. The action you need to take is going to the gym. It's very clear. That's why I don't like the term, I want to be rich. How do you get rich? I want to be a millionaire. That's very, okay, you need to have $1 million. I know what actions I can take to do one. I don't know about the actions for the other one because it's a little too vague. Again, if my goal is specific, the rest of this kind of falls into place, right? Realistic, we make sure our client's goal is realistic. That one's pretty easy to understand. Make sure we're not setting like, way too lofty goals. I like stretch goals, but don't go too far. And then timely, we just need to have a deadline. We said August 30th, right? So if the goal was to get 13 sessions in by August 30th, that is August 31st. That is a very smart goal. Make sense?
Sorry, my speaker.
Did that cover it? You feel good?
Yeah, the specific measurable. What was the A?
Attainable or
Attainable.
actionable.
Cool.
Yeah, and then realistic and timely. All right, so love SMART goals. So now let's write our friggin' workout, right? So when you're writing your warm-up, again, be a little bit cautious about their heart rate. Don't go, sprinting them uphill. But in the initial session, you are probably only going to focus on 2 key areas. You don't have all the time in the world. Don't be wrong. My warm-ups will sometimes, let's see here, client workouts. I'm gonna pull up some real life examples here. Oh, that's right here. Here's what it looks like. You can see here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 static stretches. Actually 6 static stretches and no foam rolling because this client can't foam roll. She's got osteoporosis that's pretty severe in her lower and upper body, her wrist in particular. And it's like there's no version of like her holding herself up on a foam roller that's not going to like hurt her wrist. So we don't foam roll. So I got 6 static stretches there. That 30 seconds each. That's about 6 minutes worth of time. Again, this is your first session. You've already sat at the front desk. You've already talked. You've already set up some goals. You probably do not have time to get through a bunch of static stretches. So we're going to focus on a couple key areas. And we are going to apply this in the corrective flexibility techniques. You guys might remember corrective flexibility is what we do with our clients who are in level 1, because this is a brand new client. So brand new client, we are starting them in stabilization. So we're focusing on corrective flexibility. So the things I'll be allowed to choose are foam rolling techniques and static stretch techniques. I'm not going to do active stretches. I'm not going to do dynamic stretches. This is a beginner client, right? And like I said, foam rolling is an option. However, it may not be the best choice. You can still find other self-myofascial release techniques that don't involve a foam roller. If Michelle had gotten like a massage gun or something, I would have thrown that into her routine instead. Or if she'd gotten like a tiger tail or something like that. But it doesn't always have to be a foam roller. There's a lot of other, self-myofascial release tools out there. There's the Theracane. By the way, these are $30. Get one of these guys. They're freaking great. I actually need to buy a new one because, hey, shocker of the year, stolen out of my car. And then we got, Theraguns, tiger tails, these little ring things. I don't know about those, but, they're all really, 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 really great tools. And all of them are good examples. Maybe not appropriate for an obese client if they have a hard time holding themselves up. Foam rolling may not be great, but a tiger tail where they can kind of rolling pin out their, hips and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Love it. Great. Go for it. So we can throw that into a routine. So we're going to focus on 2 key areas, right? Again, if my client is excessively leaning forward, like Bay pointed out earlier, we are going to stretch out the calves. So I'll probably show this client a couple of variations. of SMR techniques for the calves. If they've got like if I've got a tiger tail at the gym, then kind of rolling pin out their calves. That's one foam rolling technique. And then they take themselves up, they go over and do like a static wall calf stretch, and then maybe do a static wall soleus stretch. So they get the upper portions and the lower portions, straight leg and bent knee. And there we go. There's my flexibility section, Then we're going to throw my client on the treadmill, get them to warm up a little bit, and we start getting them a little bit familiar with what their heart rate is and what it feels like, right? So we get them on the treadmill. One of my favorite things to do is what's called a VT test. That's a ventilatory threshold test. And if you throw your client on the treadmill and be like, all right, this is what 3 miles an hour on the treadmill feels like for you. How do you feel? And they're like, I feel great. Cool. This is what 4 miles per hour on the treadmill feels like for you. How do you feel? I'm starting to get a little bit out of breath. Great. Love that. You're starting to get out of breath. Do you feel like you could hold a conversation with me? Like if I wanted you to get through the entire ABCs, do you feel like you could do that pretty easily and comfortably? Like, oh yeah, no, I feel that way. Great. What about this is 5 miles per hour on the treadmill? How do you feel? And they're like, well, I'm starting to get a little bit out of breath. And it's like, could you get through the ABCs? It's like, I could get through it, but it would be uncomfortable. I'd be like, okay, great. This is what 6 miles per hour on the treadmill feels like for you. For the record, once we get to like that second version, probably don't need to do that with an obese client. But I want to kind of play this out as if maybe we're training an athlete. We get through like 6 miles per hour on the treadmill. How does that feel? It's like, could you get through the ABCs? Like, probably couldn't get all the way through the ABCs without having to take a break. Okay, so now we could get through it completely comfortably. We could get through it uncomfortably. We cannot get through it. That is your zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3 without calculating out their heart rate. It's a more holistic approach. That's a VT test. We're going to start incorporating and talking more about that, in practical sessions when we see it. But I think I've done that with some of you guys before. But that is what that one looks like. And that's a good thing to do. Like that, if you can get through that in 5 or 6 minutes with your client, they're going to have their cardio warmed up and they're going to be starting to get familiar with what that looks like. You're teaching them how to stabilize that heart rate. Then when it comes to the movement prep section, so I'm gonna open a blank OPT here. Oh, hey. Well, that was oh no, I saved over my old one. Crap. Hold on. God dang it. There it is. Searchy stuff. Okay. Yes, replace that existing file. Okay, so here's our blank OPT template, right? So we've done maybe 2 foam rolling techniques. We did tiger tail on the calves, right? So that was a little bit of SMR for the calves. And then we did a static gastrocnemius stretch and a static soleus stretch. One set of each of those, 30 seconds each time. And there we go. Then we're going to go do a treadmill VT test, right? One set, it'll take about 5 to 10 minutes. So this is going to be that VT test is the how well my client can breathe. They're learning how to do the talk test basically, right? So I'm starting to get my client familiar with their heart rate zones. Then it's time to move into the core balance reactive section. So core training, hugely important, for any client. But obviously also very relevant to our weight loss clients. So we are going to focus on core stabilization exercises. Why? Well, again, our client is in level 1, right? This is a brand new client. We are in stabilization. So we are only going to stay in this row right here. We're not dropping into these higher rows here. We don't need to do medicine ball throws. We just need to, you know, work the like on stable. We're not focused on moving the spine. We're focused on stabilizing the spine. So choose 1 or 2 exercises to share with your client in that first session that would be appropriate to them. If my client's an excessive forward leaner, you know, that could be, again, if we look at this, NASM overhead squat solutions table. You know, if we're pulling up all these overactive, underactive muscles, it's not always the calves. Sometimes, seriously, there we go. Sometimes it is with the excessive forward lean. We see the soleus and the gastrocnemius. Sometimes it's the hip flexors and the abs. And their erector spinae is underactive. Their low back's not working enough to pull them back upright. So when it comes to a core exercise, like a core stabilization exercise, one of the best movements that strengthens my a low back would be like a prone cobra, right? So like going into that cobra position or a Superman, that's another really classic one. So we're focusing on core stabilization exercises. Another good way, a floor bridge, right? Floor bridge, one of our best exercises because it activates their glutes. They use their low back a little bit, right? So floor bridge and iso prone cobra, those are both really good core stabilization exercises. Just to kind of show you guys that and to kind of prove that to you. That's right, there it is. Here's my stabilization checklist. I open this up and, you know, I stay, here's my core stabilization exercises, 2-legged floor bridge, floor prone cobra. So I stay to my stabilization list, right? And there we go. Probably only going to do a couple sets of that. It may need to be modified depending on the client. If my client has a really hard time getting down onto the floor, for instance, okay, well, maybe that's not an option, right? If my client is, if I've got a, you know, 450-pound client, maybe I can't get them down to do a floor bridge. Maybe I can't get them down to do an isoprone cobra. So what are some other options on that stabilization core checklist that I could maybe do? Honestly, there's not a lot of great options on here, but one of my favorite core exercises would be like a modified plank. You can literally just take your client down to a bench or have them do it on the wall, right? No, not just on the knees. Yeah, there we go, right? A wall plank. This can be a really effective tool, you know, and they have to learn how to stabilize their entire core. Or maybe I go with a side band hold. Call it, I believe. Yeah. Love this freaking exercise, right? This isolated rotation. Rather than having them do like a wood chop, just have them hold and then they walk themselves laterally. That's like doing a side plank without having to get down on the ground. Great option for an obese client. This one not in your book, unfortunately. But let's see, side band hold, right? So if we did 2 sets of each of those, and for reps here, both of these are isometric. So if I said like 30 seconds, and then this one, I said like 20 seconds each, right? Tempo, that means that they're both isometric. And then let's say I do it with just like 30 seconds of rest each time. We're going to be moving through this pretty quick. We're trekking, you know? So I set that up, you know, before I even get onto the gym floor, right? Again, once my client is done going through like the assessment process, I'm going to go into like this, you know, I'm going to pivot into this conversation of like writing a routine. It's like, all right, here's what I saw from your overhead squat. Here's what I saw from your pushing and the pulling assessment. Here's what we know about your cardio. And so then boom, I slap the OPT template down onto the table. And, you know, we've been going through this writing process so far. Balance training. What about the balance part? Critical part of any routine. However, like make no mistake, guys, balance, hugely important. I'm definitely not discounting the importance of balance, but we are probably not going to address it in a first training session, in a sort of assessment workout setting, just because for two reasons. Number one, balance training is very slow. It's going to eat up a lot of time. Number two, it's probably the most frustrating. And we are trying to, make sure that our client feels accomplished by the end of their session. So if you are kicking their butt on a balance routine and making it like very difficult for them, they may get frustrated and they may feel like, man, that was something I don't want to do again, So not a huge fan of incorporating balance. I will occasionally do it. Like if I've got a client who literally says like, I really want to get my balance improved. Okay, great. Like, yeah, I'm going to throw that into that first session. I'm trying to demonstrate that I'm listening to them. I'm basing my workouts on their goals. And also like, I want them to feel like they are working towards the things that they are doing. But first session, balance training, probably not the most appropriate. And the same thing is true of plyometrics, right? If your client has proper core stability, proper neuromuscular efficiency, great. Let's go through some plyometrics, have them do some squat jumps, learn how to work on those landing mechanics, right? Let's be athletic, let's be explosive, let's do some jumping. But not a lot of clients who are severely obese will have those things, so it's not appropriate. They don't meet the criteria. Reactive training is, probably a little bit too high impact, could be very hard on the knees. Great way to burn a lot of calories, which we know is our goal, but probably not appropriate in the first 3 sessions. That's another really fun goal to work up towards, by the way, and be like, hey, let's see if we can work up to doing, a couple box jumps. That's a fun one. That's a fun sort of outcome and process goal. Speed, agility, and quickness training. This is a great tool at your disposal. Speed ladders, cone drills. This stuff is great, right? It's an excellent tool to keep your exercise routines. I love it. It's fresh and engaging. However, again, just like plyometrics, your client needs to have proper flexibility, proper core stabilization, proper neuromuscular efficiency. They need to know how to move the way that they are supposed to. And they need to not only know how to move the way they're supposed to, but they need to be able to move the way they're supposed to. Probably not going to be covered in your first 3 sessions. Although that's how NASM does it. I love to do some really basic speed ladder training with weight loss clients. It's a really fun thing to have to do. I mean, you guys remember going through like the speed ladders when we met in person. It's fun. It's fun and engaging. It doesn't have to be like as much as we did, where it's like speed ladder to cone to sprint to me having a bad pass that you have to catch. It doesn't always have to be like that. Right? It can just be really fun. Just run through the speed ladder a couple times in between sets. If I were setting that up like in a routine like this, I might even move it up here just so it's a little bit easier and say like speed ladder, right? 2 sets, 2 repetitions, controlled speed. And maybe that's where they do rest, right? Maybe now it becomes a circuit, 0 seconds, 0 seconds, 30 seconds on the other, right? So it's like core, all right, hit the speed ladder, okay, rest, boom, let's go back to the core, speed ladder, it's kind of fun. Which version's better? Again, doesn't really work that way, right? It depends on the client. I am going to take the speed ladder off here though, because I am using we're building a textbook example today. So in your first session with a weight loss client, you're probably just going to go through a couple little core exercises. And balance and reactive and SAQ, probably going to leave those for your next couple sessions. We'll get into those later, Remember, you're also, you've also got to teach all this stuff to somebody. If you're throwing 50 exercises at them that they have to like learn how to do in one day, it's a lot. It's very overwhelming. So now we're going to get into the resistance section, right? So typically you're going to want to teach your client maybe 2 to 5 exercises within those first 2 sessions. So when it comes down to it, we want to make sure that we're not doing way too many exercises, right? I love circuits, guys. I love them. But it can be kind of overwhelming if you're doing big, long circuits. So during your first session, you're going to teach them maybe 2 to 5 exercises. You're probably going to focus on total body exercises, chest exercises, and back exercises. Now you may be going, why the heck aren't we doing legs? Well, total body exercises are going to get the legs, and they, again, with an obese client, we're looking at extreme obesity here. It may be a little too tough, right? So don't overwhelm them. Don't go too heavy on those legs, but do, get them involved. If they're doing like a little bit of like leg and upper body work simultaneously, that's going to be a lot more comfortable for them because the intensity is going to naturally be lower, because keeping up with their, I can't shoulder press as much as I can squat, right? So if I'm trying to like not overdo it on my legs, I would do maybe a squat to press. So 2 to 5 exercises. So let's take a look. Let's go to our stabilization checklist here and select one. Ball squat, curl to press, probably one of my favorite exercises to give to a client. So if I go here and I go ball squat, curl to press, and then I come down here and a multi-planar step up curl to overhead press. That's a really good one too. I'd probably change how I do it just because those are both like curling actions and overhead pressing actions. So in this version, and I probably wouldn't make it multi-planar just because that's a little bit, and I probably wouldn't make it a step up to balance either. I'd probably just do a step up. So I just did like a step up curl to overhead press, right? In my coaching tips on the ball squat, I would probably say, we're going to do a supinated bicep curl and a pronated shoulder press. And then maybe on my step up, it becomes a neutral curl. So it becomes like a hammer curl to hammer press. And so now, like, they're staying, I've got 2 different grips. They're ever so slightly different biceps and ever so slightly different shoulder exercises. So we'd say pronated to supinated to pronated grip on dumbbells. And then over here, I would say neutral grip on dumbbells. Okay. So no fancy wrist stuff, just totally neutral the whole time. And then I'm going to pick a chest exercise that is going to be appropriate for my client. A ball dumbbell chest press, probably not super appropriate. A push-up, probably not super appropriate. But a standing cable chest press, great exercise that keeps your client on their feet. They don't have to get down to the ground. They don't have to get uncomfortable, right? And we'd be right there for a standing cable row, which would also be a really good upper back exercise. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I actually got 6 exercises in here. That's still probably fun. We're getting, I guess, that works. Maybe take out the step up to overhead press. Maybe just do 1 total body, 1 chest, 1 that. That's going to make it a little bit easier. So sets, 2 to 3 sets. I'm going to go with 2. Reps, let's go with 12 reps here. Let's go with like 6 reps each over here, 12 reps here, and 12 reps here. Can I go higher? Yeah, absolutely. I can go 15 reps, but again, new client, I'm not going crazy. Medium tempo here and here. And then let's go with a slow tempo on the chest stuff, right? Let's go with a slow tempo on the upper back. This is stabilization, right? And we'll give them 60 seconds of rest. So that's not going to take too long to get through, right? This is going to be, a really good way to kind of teach my client. I did their assessment probably I got 40 minutes to get through the rest of the session. Yeah, I can get through this in 40 minutes, right? In addition to all the other stuff. So that is how we're going to integrate some of our resistance training, right? We're also going to do something kind of similar when it comes to cardio. So integrated cardio, integrating your cardio into your strength training sessions a really good way to get, a lot of work done in less time rather than having to do like cardio sessions on their off days. This is also a really good way to get a little bit of leg strength and start working on your client's cardiovascular endurance. So intermittently performing 1 to 2 minutes of cardio between sets can be a really effective tool at your disposal. So one of the ways that I like to do this, I love to pick exercises where I'm either near like a piece of cardio equipment, or I like to bring a piece of cardio equipment with me while I'm at the gym, wherever I am in the gym. So, those little steps, those little risers, I will bring those. I will just carry one of those around with me and have my client do that at the end of the set. So let's say, this is pretty good as it is for straight sets, but I could also do like quick steps in between 2 reps, 30 seconds of work, fast tempo. And then that's where we take our 60 seconds of rest. So if I did that every single time between every one of these sessions, every one of these sets, and you can see like I do a step up, I do a ball squat curl to press, and it's like they get through all 12 reps, and it's like, all right, we're going to take 30-second little cardio break here. I have them put the dumbbells down, they get on a little step, they're like up, down, down, up, down, down. Right? It's like doing a little bit of cardio. It's like going for a run in between. It's low impact. Those plastic steps they give a little give. They're meant to be very soft. That's a really effective way. It's like getting a step class built into our training session. So that's one version of doing this. Or if that's a lot, I could organize this whole thing as a circuit. Right? Let's say I do my ball squat curl to press. I do my standing cable chest press. I do my standing cable row. I would probably write in the coaching tips, put this in bold, perform as circuit. Right? And now it's 0 seconds of rest for my first exercise, 0 seconds of rest. So now this feels like cardio. Or if it doesn't feel like cardio, Jesus, guys. If it doesn't feel like cardio, I could do, again, those quick steps at the very end of my circuit. So that's another option there, right? So that is a good way to sort of incorporate cardiovascular training into your sessions. Also it's, let's say, but let's say you don't decide to do the quick steps version. Let's say it's the treadmill. All right, let's go back to that actually, because that's the example they've got here. They do this as a circuit, and then let's put on the treadmill. And let's go for like a full minute. We'll go for like 1 minute. Then they take like 60 seconds of rest. That's a good opportunity for you to teach your client the treadmill. Okay. So that's also like something you're probably going to want to cover in your first session. Be like, here's how the buttons work. Here's how our cardio is. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Hey, is there any way we could get this in like a half hour? I'm on a Zoom call right now with my class, and they're having it's hard to hear. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, can we come back to this in like just a little bit? No?
Okay, I want to start right here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, if we could just avoid like hitting the wall and stuff. My class, it's like everybody can hear everything. It's like really tough for me. So it's just making my job hard. All right. Appreciate it. All right. Sorry about that. Looking at where we were, God, I'm lost now. Integrating cardio. So this is a good opportunity for you to teach your client how to use the treadmill. So it's kind of it's a fun learning opportunity there. after your third session, they can choose their cardio, right? They can go through a full cardio warm up. They can go through a full cardio program, depending on like how you want them to do that. So there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of organize this, right? Okay, so if we wrote all of this right after, and then we got to fill out our cool down. So I'm honestly just going to copy our cool down, but I'm going to remove the treadmill VT test. We already did like the little bit of cardio stuff, right? So we don't necessarily need to do that again at the end of our session. And there we go. If I sat down with someone and wrote this right in front of them, Lorianne, you were saying earlier, like, I don't know if I'm sold on things, right? If you sat down, if we went through a fitness assessment and I was like, here's what I can see. And then I sat down, it's like, here's how we're going to address this, and wrote a program right in front of you, took you over and did it. Hopefully by that point, you're feeling a lot more confident about possibly working with me, right? That's our goal here.
Yes.
Again, demonstrating our value, right? So let's talk about like if we're organizing this, right? First session organization. Here's what it kind of looks like. So first things first, your client walks through the door. Greet them. Hey, how you doing? I'm Brad. I'm going to show you around the gym today. We're going to go through some fitness assessments. I'm going to ask you some questions. I want to write you a program to kind of address anything that we find during our assessments. And then I'm going to give you a little sales pitch at the end. Right? Like, that's a fast version of how you would do that. But, right? We've also got subjective assessments. Take your client through their subjective stuff. Make sure you do the PAR-Q, make sure you do the lifestyle assessment, medical history questionnaire, talk about their goals. Be like, what brought you into the gym today, right? We're trying to figure that out in the beginning. This is something that should take maybe 10 minutes at the most. Then get through any objective assessments that you want to do. Test their resting heart rate, test their body weight, get any of their measurements, like circumference measurements, do their body composition, body mass index, and then the overhead squat is probably, that's the only, you can maybe only do the overhead squat, or you could possibly do, the pushing and the pulling assessments, right? Those can also be really good. And then there is a little bit of cardio assessments out there as well, but you don't have to do them. Right here, honestly, on your first session, the only one NASM's recommending for a weight loss client within a first session is just get them through the overhead squat. You can learn a little bit about the pushing and the pulling stuff maybe as you get into your session. I mean, we chose standing cable chest press and standing cable row over here, if I threw that into their routine, they're getting the workout, but I'm also able to assess them, right? Then you go through that whole session, you train them a little bit, right? You take them through their first workout, you introduce this concept of warming up, right? You're like, all right, we want to start with these foam rolling techniques that we talked about, right? Take them through, and or maybe not foam rolling, tiger tail techniques. Let's take you through these stretches. Let's throw them on the treadmill, get them a little bit warmed up and be like, this is what it feels like in this zone. This is what it feels like in this zone. This is what it feels like in this zone. Get them familiar with what their numbers are, Tom, actually both Thomases on this call, you guys both got the treadmill treatment with me. The last couple times we've met up. But you got familiar hopefully with like what some of your numbers were, hopefully.
Exactly.
Kind of fun, right? And it's like, all right, you're a 7.0 on that treadmill, or you're at 8.5, or you're 3.2, like whatever it is. So now your client's like, oh, okay, like they're getting familiar. They're like, I can take this, I can absorb this, I can use this. Then it's like we take them over and it's like, let's do a little bit of core work, right? Let's focus on that plank. Let's get that side hold, right? Whatever it happens to be. These are the versions we came up with today. So introduce the warm-up / cardio, introduce the flexibility, take them through a little bit of the core, and then get into your resistance training. knock out this, I like a circuit style. I did build the straight sets the first time, but my favorite way to do this is a circuit. So if we did a ball squat, curled overhead press, step up curl to overhead press, standing cable chest press, standing row, throw them on the treadmill for 1 minute, come back and start the whole thing over. Now they're getting a little bit of cardio and they're getting a little bit of strength training, and they're going to get a heck of a workout. This 2 sets, 12 reps on everything should take, this will probably take like 90, that's 3 minutes. This should take about 15, maybe 20 minutes to get through twice. Not so bad. Plenty of time left in our session to get back over to the desk and schedule our next appointment. Do not let your client leave without scheduling the next one. Now, if they don't sign up for training, they're not going to be able to do that, right? But this is where your sales pitch comes in. This is where you're like, all right, so I'd love to meet again and get you the rest of this routine, so you can have a little bit of variety. We can build a different version of things. Love to get a chance where, we can kind of look at things a little bit differently next time, show you some different techniques, address some balance stuff, address some maybe even reactive and SAQ stuff, whatever it's going to look like. And so, get them that pricing sheet. Some gyms will offer introductory packages for first-time clients, where they can get maybe like 3 to 5 sessions at a very discounted rate. So you can actually use that and be like, this is a smaller package that we sell, that will give us an opportunity to kind of work together for a couple times, and then we can talk about like a regular training package after that. But this would give me time to teach you a routine that you could do for a little while. So now it's like this maybe becomes their workout A, and then we just modify it and make it like a little bit lengthier over time, right? This becomes maybe 4 sets, or probably 3 actually. This becomes like 15 reps, maybe a couple extra exercises in there. Their routine gets a little bit longer and more complicated over the time that you're kind of working together and building it. So let's say that goes really well and they're like, all right, yeah, let's sign up for maybe they do the baby package, right? They don't sign up for full training yet. They're just like, oh, well, I'll do the baby package. I'll see you 2 more. I'll see you, 3 times total. Great. Okay. Little 3-session introductory. Second session, they show up, greet them at the door, review everything that happened last time. Be like, how do you feel? How'd you feel after last week's session, or last time's session? Maybe it was a couple days ago. Let's talk about what you felt afterwards. Let's talk about what worked, what didn't work. Did you have fun? Was it engaging? Did you feel like you learned a lot? That's one of the things I'm always really big on. I always ask my clients if they're learning. Maybe talk about we did talk about some of your food intake last time. Did you do any food tracking? That's one thing that I forgot to mention during your first session too. When you're doing some of that subjective nutrition stuff, you can also, as homework for your client, tell them to start food journaling. Do that actually. It's optional because it's not very Nazim's it's optional. I think it's mandatory. I think it's huge. But then again, I love food journaling. So I would say let's take a look at their food tracking, portion control. We can start talking about AMDRs. We can start talking about hey, you want to get 45 to 65% carbohydrates, anywhere from 10 to 30% protein. We can start breaking that down for our clients. Look at food labels, meal planning, and timing of everything. Be it sounds like, we can notice if we're looking at your food journal, you tend to overeat right here. That means you're getting extra hungry. Let's find a way to keep you from getting so hungry by maybe boosting up this meal a little bit so that we don't overeat in this meal here. So we can start drawing some conclusions and coaching them on their nutrition. This is all of the, by the way, this while we're sitting here, and talking about all this, we're about to pivot into talking about their goals and scheduling next appointments. This is all the desk time that you spent during your first session. right? First session, we were sitting at the desk, we did the PAR-Q, the lifestyle, right? We talked about their goals, we, interviewed them, we introduced ourselves, we should, shot the breeze for a little bit, built some rapport with the client, right? This second session, you've already got all that. So now it's like you're filling your time with some nutrition coaching. And that's filling the sort of same space in your 1 hour with this person. So after we talk about like that nutrition stuff, review their goals, maybe refine their goals, be like, last time we talked about this, or oftentimes I will give people goal homework. That's how I usually do it. I'll be like, I want you to go home and think about a couple goals and bring them in and see if we can, smarten them up. Which is my favorite thing to say because it's a dumb word. It's a dumb not word. And then once you're done like reviewing their goals or refining their goals, making some adjustments, schedule your next appointment now. Get it on the books. That way you don't have to come back to the desk and they can leave from the gym floor. Second section, you're going to go through very similarly. You're going to do some flexibility. You're going to introduce balance training this time. So maybe this time you have a new OPT template. And by the way, you would be prepped for this. You would have this one written before your client gets here. Unless you want to write it in front of them, which you can. But we go back and we maybe teach them some new foam rolling techniques. Let's say they also had a problem with arms falling forward. Well, we don't have a really great SMR technique for someone whose arms falling forward. Well, actually, that's not true. We can do a lacrosse ball on the pec minor, right? So they press that lacrosse ball like right into here and kind of go up into a wall and kind of press. So that'll work. Yeah, one set, 30 seconds each side. And then this time we're going to have them do maybe like a wall lat stretch, and let's do a pectoral wall stretch. Right, so now they're getting into the upper body. They're going to open up the pectorals here. They're going to open up the lats here, right? That's going to be really good. And then we don't have to do the VT test on the treadmill, but we do want to throw them on a piece of equipment to get them a little bit more comfortable and to obviously get their body nice and warm. Let's go with a little bit of a change up this time. Let's go with the elliptical, right? One set, and we'll go for 5 minutes there, right? At a nice 50 to 65% heart rate max. So sometimes that's another thing I'll do. I will do a VT test in the first session, and then I'll introduce the concept of heart rates and heart rate training in this session, but I won't even go into zone 1. I'll keep it below, below zone 1. So, and I'll often explain that to the client. I'll be like, I want this below where your, VT level 1 was, where you're really comfy, and be able to get through the ABCs. This is like, you should be able to recite the national anthem. You should be able to sing. This is only a warm-up, right? It's not meant to be cardio. So we go through a little bit of flexibility, introduce some balance training, introduce cardio. We already talked about that. Resistance training, and then take them. They can, do their cool down from last time, or from this time. But so up here, let's do some balance training. Right, going on to our stabilization checklist. If I look at balance stabilization exercise, let's go with like a single leg balance with reach. Love that exercise. So single leg balance reach, and then let's go with the single leg lift and chop. That's one of my all-time favorites. You guys know how much I love the lift and chop. I do it all the time. And we'll go with 6 each, 6 each. Tempo is nice and slow, or we could actually, it's controlled. And yeah, we'll keep it 30 seconds of rest. So now this should time out about the same way that our core stuff did. Now I'm making sure that my training session's not, not getting out of whack anywhere. And then we can introduce, a little bit of maybe more advanced cardio training here. So now, if we take a look here, maybe this is meant to be what their cardio session looks like. So they get a little bit of balance stuff beforehand that, that turns on the core and everything, making their cardio a little bit more effective. So now we could change up these exercises. Or we could literally just do a little bit of resistance training and then turn this into a cardio session, like a miniature version of it, but something that they can then get more familiar with as they, go through their, journey, right? If we're doing interval training, for instance, this is where you can teach your client how to do that. Let's take a look. Let's see here. Let's go with perform as a circuit here. We're going to pick some stabilization exercises. So we did total body, chest, and back last time. Let's get a little bit of shoulder and a little bit of leg stuff this time. Let's maybe go with like a cable squat. That'll be a good one. So use that cable machine again, but this time it kind of helps them balance. So we go with like a cable squat. Let's go with a little bit of shoulder work here. Maybe a single leg dumbbell scaption. That's a great shoulder exercise. Instead of the standing cable chest press, let's get a little bit of tricep work in there. Maybe a single leg cable press down. So we stay on that cable machine. Whoops. And then bicep curls, we can go with a single leg cable curl. And then there we go. Then we can throw them back on the treadmill. So this is another way to kind of introduce that. But the treadmill stuff can be a little bit longer this time. Or, maybe it doesn't have to be treadmill. Maybe it can be the spin bike, elliptical, whatever your client is most comfortable. Rowing machine. Freaking love rowing machine in the middle of a circuit. That's so fun. So now a little bit of legs, a little bit of shoulders, a little bit of triceps, a little bit of biceps. Cool. I would probably flip these actually. I'd probably do biceps here and triceps here. Just because the shoulders are gonna have a little bit of tricep work. Isometrically stabilizing, but that's being really picky. And again, we'll change these both to 6 each. There we go. And that's also slow, and the other one's medium. There we go. So now there's my new circuit. And that's going to, really work for my client. That's going to burn a lot of calories. They're getting a little more comfy with things. And again, your second session, your first session, they kind of time out the same. Yeah, you have a lot of talking to do in your first session. First time you're meeting somebody, you're introducing a lot of concepts. But you're reviewing those concepts in the second session. So there's still a lot of talking in the second one as well. You probably don't have quite as much time on the gym floor. In fact, one thing that is handy about this is that your client can then do their cool down on their own if you don't have time. Me personally, I never let clients on the second session do that. I always go through with them when it comes to, cooling down. That's weird. Sorry, 1 second. I do just need to move this up here. So now it looks something kind of like that, right? Cool. Yeah, let's move on to the third one, right? Third session. So now we already, our client can leave. We already set up their session last time. So now let's get into the third workout session. This is where it can start to look like a real routine. So one of the things you can do at the end of your second session is summarize and be like, all right, so we're going to turn this into a real routine for you now. I want you to do this workout 3 times per week. And what you can do is you can now marry those 2 workouts together. So your first session was a little bit, it was only 2 stretching techniques. Well, now it's like, all right, we did the lacrosse ball and let's do the tiger tail, right? Let's get them both in there now. Let's get the lower body and the upper body. So we insert row above, we go with tiger tail on the calf. Right? And then we do that static gastrocnemius stretch. And then we do that static, hold on. Static soleus stretch. 1 set of everything, 30 seconds each. Again, I would have all of this built before our client showed up, right? But now it's like, boom, they get 2 self-myofascial release techniques, 4 stretches, and then they get on the elliptical for 5 minutes or so. They're going to be really warmed up, right? And you will have, they already know how to do all these movements because you taught that to them earlier. And so your client can either do that on their own if you send this to them ahead of time. But me personally, I like to give them 1 more on that 3rd session. This time you're reviewing like food journaling really quickly, and you've got pretty much your entire training session. You get the full hour this time. So I think that gives you time to do the warm up and the cool down. So now, as we sort of combine this together, right, we go through this version here, and then we had our core stuff, which was the side band hold and the modified plank, 2 sets, 20 seconds each. This was 30 seconds, isometric, 30 seconds of rest each time. So now, boom, there they go. They've got a little bit of cardio. They've got a little bit of core, a little bit of balance. They're getting that out in the beginning. This is they are movement prepped before going into our much more challenging, resistance routine. So now, here's, 1 circuit that we did on like the 2nd session, right? Where we had the legs, shoulders, biceps, and triceps. And our other session was the ball squat, curl to press. Insert, I need to insert a bunch of rows. Sorry, 1 second, guys. Row inserting. Ball squat, I step up to curl to press. We did, what was the other one? Standing cable chest press, standing cable row. And then we had them do the treadmill for 1 minute. 2 sets, 12 reps, 12 reps, 12 reps, 12, 1 minute. And that is a medium, slow, 0 seconds. I don't know why I deleted all this earlier. That was a mistake. Should have kept it up. So there we go. Now, my client has 8 exercises that they know how to do in their resistance section, 4 exercises that they knew how to do here. I'm just going to remove the speed, agility, and quickness section because we're not actually doing it. And then they've got a warm up and a cool down that's going to work really well for them, right? Let's see here. I'm going to delete that. Let's put the elliptical up here and copy the rest of this that goes below it. There's my cool down. And we have built our client's routine. This is a classic stabilization routine for weight loss. It is meeting all of the requirements that we talked about, right? And here it is in our 3rd session. If we're really taking our clients through this, this can be performed, multiple times per week. It's not too much training volume, right? It's got a little bit of core. It's got a little bit of cardio, a little bit of balance. It can get more cardio, a little bit of resistance training, more cardio, and then a cool down. So this is doing like sort of a back and forth, where you would do, resistance cardio and stuff, I do like that approach. I like it a lot. By the way, it doesn't have to be a treadmill. Could be just quick steps, right? Right, that's really convenient. Again, those freaking risers, they call it the step. This friggin' thing is awesome. Just keep it, just keep it with you tuck it under your arm, bring it around through all your sessions, and it can get harder and harder and harder the more risers you add, so that's a really great way to sort of incorporate that, burn lots of calories, and not to mention like a little bit of leg strength. So review, talk about their food journal a little bit, assign some homework, maybe some reading materials that they can do. But end of your session, as they're getting ready to walk out the door, take them back over to that desk and be like, all right, let's book your next session, right? If they've got one more left, let's do it and see if we can go through this again, see how you feel. Maybe we'll modify this up. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, we want to make sure you're progressing through the program. So it's 12 reps now, but let's see if we can get it up to 15 later. It's 2 sets now. Let's see if we can get up to 3 later, and then eventually we get up to 20 repetitions at the end. We are working on like progressing our client as they go through their routine, and as they get more familiar with the exercises, they'll move through everything a little bit faster. They'll start getting, much more familiar and comfortable with things. And this is where it's like, this is going to be your routine. Now, if you're going with like coaching, instead of just like training your client all the time, coaching techniques also a pretty handy tool to have in your tool belt. When it comes to coaching your clients, it's going to be like, all right, here's your routine. You're going to do this for the next couple of weeks. You're going to check in with me, maybe just through email and stuff. You're emailing your client consistently. You're checking in with them. And then maybe you meet once a week, or maybe you meet once a month. And it's like, hey, let's meet up again. And then you meet and it's like, let's go through your new routine, and we teach them a new one. That's how coaching works. It's a little bit different than actual personal training. And it's a cheaper option for a lot of people. They're still getting some personalized attention. They're getting a routine that works for them, but they're not necessarily like training with a trainer every time. But if you were to do this 3 days a week, it burns a lot of calories, do a little bit of cardio, go for a walk on your off days. It's not bad. How do you guys feel about this? How are you guys feeling?
Good.
Feeling pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to watch me kind of just like lay it out, but like, this is what we're going to kind of practice tomorrow. I want to have you guys kind of sit down and scratch out some routines, get really comfortable with it and really start to get used to plugging stuff into the OPT model. We're going to do a unique approach tomorrow that's a little bit different than the way we did it in this, in that you may end up like doing different phases of training instead. This was all stabilization examples, right? But again, getting used to plugging exercises in, choosing your numbers and stuff. I will say, Thomas, you're a little bit at a disadvantage because you saw me just kind of throwing these numbers in really rapidly. These numbers are all chosen because those are the numbers that are supposed to be chosen in stabilization. It's 12 to 20 reps, 1 to 3 sets, medium, slow, and controlled tempos. You'll see those numbers tomorrow as we're kind of going through it. Okay, so last little thing this PowerPoint's just going to wrap up with is, talking about, like, let's say you're working with your client regularly, right? Let's say they bought training and now they're working with you on the regular. Here are some challenges that are probably going to occur. Missed sessions. Look, life is going to get in the way. There's going to be traffic. Your client is going to possibly, call and text you to say like, hey, I'm going to be late. Try to avoid, try to keep this from happening. Be super proactive with your client. Send them a reminder text 24 hours before your session starts. Like, hey, can't wait to see you tomorrow at 7 a.m. right? Or whatever it happens to be. Remind them. And then remember, if they don't show up within the first like 15 minutes because maybe they didn't show up, reach out and be like, hey, is everything all right? Like, you're supposed to be here right now. Like, is everything okay? Check to see if they're all right. And then if they're like, oh my gosh, I overslept, I'm sorry, can we reschedule? You can reschedule, but remind them of your missed appointment policies. Yeah, you can be a little lenient, guys. If you want to give your client like a 3-strike policy, that's what I do. Go for it. If they miss a session, okay, that's fine. We won't charge them for it, right? Miss the second one, all right, fine. Third one, all right, but that's the last one. And then after that, if they miss a session, charge them. You got bills to pay. And also, like, your time is valuable, and you cannot help people in this world if you can't pay your bills. Like, if you don't have a place to live, if you can't function, you're not gonna be able to help anybody. So remind your client they need to give you 24 hours notice if they are going to cancel an appointment or whatever your company's policy is on that. And trust me, guys, you're not doing anybody any favors if you just let them skip sessions all the time. I know it seems like you're being like lenient and kind and stuff, but it's just helping them, continue in their bad habits. So charge them. Late arrivals. Yeah, if your client, losing 10 minutes in a 1-hour training session, that's huge. That's 25%. So make sure that you can try to find a way to make up for that extra lost time, maybe by incorporating extra cardio in place of their rest, or anything you can do to kind of get them, the reason we are prioritizing incorporating extra cardio, maybe even take out some of the strength training and just focus on the cardio, is because it burns a lot of calories. Now, that being said, the more often you skip the strength training stuff, the less you're addressing posture, the less you're, building muscle. So in the long run, it's probably not great. But again, we're trying to get a good calorie burn for our client. Cardio may be the way to go here, maybe. So try to make up for lost time there, incorporate a little bit extra cardio. By the way, if your client is chronically showing up late, it could be a sign that their commitment is wavering. So remind them of why they started this journey. Remind them of what their goals are. Remind them on what they need to do to reach those goals. That can sometimes be a warning sign that your client is frustrated. So if they're always on time and then they start chronically showing up late, keep an eye out for that. Nutrition compliance issues. Let's say your client is not necessarily reporting their calories, right? Most people don't report calories accurately. It's difficult to document. So working with your client to understand portion sizes, or maybe it's just they're no, I know what my portion sizes are supposed to be. I know what I'm supposed to do. I just can't do it. It's all right, well, why can't you do it? What's going on? Ask them why they're struggling. Figure it out. Is it a lack of support at home? Is it because your spouse is no, let's go to the movies. We're going to get popcorn and candy. And they do that 3 or 4 times a week, let's go out for a drink. If the spouse is dragging them into situations, maybe they have a lack of support at home. Maybe they're having a hard time, adjusting to taking the time to work out and incorporate meal plans and stuff. That can be tough too. Or maybe it's because they think they're shopping healthy, but they're just not. Or maybe they're overwhelmed at all the healthy, choices or which, things they should go with. Teach them that, right? Maybe it's time for you to address, teach them some ways to incorporate healthy foods. If your client relapses into old habits, right? Remember, we're moving through those stages of change. We're going from, pre-contemplation into contemplation, into preparation, into action, into maintenance. We're trying to get our client into maintenance. If they start falling backwards, into old habits, figure out why they're relapsing, what's causing this, right? We want to make sure, first things first, make sure that your client recognizes that they've lapsed. And by the way, that's the difference between lapsing and relapsing. Lapsing is a temporary misstep. You miss a session. That's a lapse, right? You miss 2 sessions, 3 sessions, 4. That's a relapse. That's you falling back into old habits, right? So first things first, recognize that a lapse happened, be like, hey, this happened. That's not okay if we're going to try and reach our goals, right? That's not what we're trying to do. So how do we get back on track? And then one of the ways you can do that is focus on the goals that are really like short term and like within proximity. That way your client can be like, yeah, I can commit to that. And it's like, hey, we're trying to get this many sessions before the end of the month is over. We're starting to run out of time to do that. What if we just focus on getting this many sessions this week? Right? A little bit of a shorter term, like proximal goal can help build your client's confidence and get them where they need to get. Sore muscles, if your client's really sore, sometimes like they'll be so sore they can't, they're like, I can't do it. I can't train today. Their legs are just too beat up or something like that. That's okay. If that happens, focus a little bit more on the core and the flexibility stuff. And then also I would say like do a little bit of cardio, because cardio can really burn off that lactic acid and make them a little bit less sore. Although good luck convincing your client that that's true. But sore muscles, maybe you just focus on like a mobility session. That's going to happen every now and then, guys. You be training somebody and they'll be so sore. They're like, I can't today. And it's like, that's all right. Like, yeah, we don't want to overtrain anything. So you can just do a little bit like PNF stretching. That's all, those manual stretch techniques that Mo's going to teach you can be a really effective, way to kind of spend your session. Clients love that. Extreme hunger, figure out what's causing that hunger. If your client says like, there's like, I don't know, I'm just miserable on this diet. I'm hungry all the time. Okay, let's figure out what's going on there, right? Are they getting enough water? Are their meals balanced, or, they're just totally out of whack. And so their body's just like, I need vitamins. So it's creating hunger hormones. Plan their meals out accordingly, like schedule them out, maybe have some like planned snacks, try to keep their stress levels down. That's a big one. Making sure that they're not stress eating, so food journaling, that can be a really good way to, again, to take a look at their food intake, and then making sure they're drinking plenty of fluids. Frustrations, clients who are hitting plateaus, obviously are going to get very frustrated. We've already kind of talked about how to address plateaus, but this is why we want to test a lot of different variables. It's like, hey, yeah, your weight has plateaued, but your body fat percentage went down, your circumference went down. That is showing us that we are still going in the same direction. And your client goes, okay, you can kind of talk them off the ledge. What about if like a holiday or a special event, like a birthday or something like that shows up? Yeah, that can derail your progress, right? If your client's on a weight loss routine, all of a sudden, like, the holidays are rolling around. One thing that you can do is develop an action plan in order to like deal with those things and be like, all right, so you're going to be at a Christmas party. There's going to be, lots of stuff there that's, not super healthy to eat. What's our plan of action? It's okay to have some Christmas cookies, like that is okay. But we want to make sure that we're making conscious decisions about how many we are having, and we are going to track them in our food log so that we can see how much energy we had and try to make up for it later. That can sort of take the scariness of those events away. That can kind of make it a little bit more manageable. So first sessions, really important. Flowing through things. This is something that, these are all just suggestions, by the way. None of this is written in stone. None of these are rules. These are just things that you can do. You are trying to get your client to set these habits early on. Don't skip the warm up. Don't skip the core section. Don't skip the movement prep. Like we're trying to kind of help our clients achieve this long-term success. So finding a more practical sequence to follow, may happen in your career. Like I said, I like to get cardio stuff out of the way early on, do an actual cardio assessment rather than just a VT test. But at the same time, if I got a client that I'm pretty confident is going to probably be a zone 1 person, okay, great. I don't need to do that cardio assessment. But it's something you can incorporate like later on, which is kind of nice. And be like, hey, let's start tracking and see if your heart rate's improving over time. But collect data. At the end of the day, the basic formula remains the same. You're going to collect some data. You're going to use that data to run a program, and you're going to train your client, right? It's the 3 steps to problem solving. Identify the problem, solve the problem, write your solution down, implement the solution, do it. I train them. And that's about it. That's a big, long, complicated lesson. How you guys feeling today?
Great.
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, that's a lot today. We were on fire today. Yeah, so one thing, actually really quick, I need to put this back on screen share. One thing, guys, I am also going to attach this as well to the email today. Not that one. Not that one. Oh, that's right. I did it again. What was the thing I opened up earlier? That one? Yeah. So here's your guide to the levels. There are going to be a few homework questions that are like, how many repetitions are appropriate for a client in stabilization, for instance. Those repetitions are in your book and listed, and we've talked about them briefly, but I did put them in one big list here for you guys. This has all of your rules, right? Core for a stabilization client, core stabilization, it's 1 to 4, 12 to 20, slow tempo, right? So I've got it all laid out here for you. It goes through stabilization, it goes through strength, and it goes through power. So I will attach this as well. This is just a very different approach. It's the same stuff that's in your book, and it's also the same stuff that I already gave you when we handed this version out. It's just laid out with a lot more like verbal description. So look for that attachment today. That might be really helpful. Okay.
Right on. Thank you for that.
Yeah. No, that's something that it's always tempting to like kind of hand that out every mod, but I think it's most applicable to this one. So I always like to kind of give it out in the weight loss mod.
Because you love us.
A little bit of bonus.
You love us a lot.
Right. All right, guys.
All right.
That's it.
Yeah, mañana. Bye, babe.
See you in person
Bye,
tomorrow.
Bye, guys. See you guys
Bye.
tomorrow.
Have a good one.
Yeah. Good job today, guys. That was a lot.